Good evening. My name's Tom Rayom. I'm chairman of the Public Works Committee, and with that, I'd like to call the committee meeting to order at 6 PM on Tuesday, May 6th, 2014. We're in the first floor conference room at City Hall. Item number 2, and that's a request from Tracy Arnold of the Wood County Land Conservation Department to stencil the catch basins.
Do you want to go around and introduce
Oh,
first?
we'll do that. The committee, go ahead. I'm sorry, I said what we're going to do.
I'm Scott Kellogg, alderperson from the 3rd District.
Andrew Kirkpatrick, District 5.
Dave Velasco, city engineer.
Joe Eichstadt, Engineering Department.
Karen Madden, Daily Tribune.
Terry Johns, United Way.
Kurt Hoyer, Chief of Police.
Sue Marcheski, resident.
Tracy Arnold from Wood County Land Conservation.
Tom Witt, Resources Manager, Casali Water Power Company.
Bill Moore.
Glenn Striegel, 2nd Avenue.
Rick Pruitt, homeowner, 2nd Avenue.
Okay, with that, we'll go to item number 2. That's a request from Tracy Arnold of the Wood County Land Conservation Department to stencil the catch basins. Tracy?
Can I make one public comment just before we get started on that? I work at the courthouse and obviously there's a lot of construction going on right there. And I know it's a headache for everybody, but it is crazy to try to get in and out of there. So just as a consideration, if you could go have traffic go up Saratoga, and I know it goes by a school, I realize that. But just think about it because it is a mess trying to get across there. The general public comes in the courthouse, the employees, and then having the sheriff's department trying to get out of that parking lot on that corner, it is rather difficult.
Okay, staff, I think, can look at that.
We've been
Tomorrow.
trying
If there is something.
whatever we chase from your courthouse is gonna go next to the school or somebody else's neighborhood, and we'll be chasing it. By mid-June, everybody will be happy.
Okay, I'm gonna focus that.
Wow.
That's when the project's done.
Okay,
Especially David.
yeah, okay, Tracy.
Okay, so the stormwater, it's a Eagle Scout project, and unfortunately the Scout couldn't be here tonight. But this is the same kind of project that we had done before, where we have the stencil and it'll be white paint if that's what you guys want again. And it says, dump no waste, drains to river, and there's a little fish on it. He wanted to do 300 to 400 stencils as part of his Eagle Scout. He's a go-getter, so I told him to go for it.
A lot of paint there.
I only had time to map out 283 of them. So he wants a recommendation from you guys if there's a certain area where you'd like me to map out another 100 for him to do. This one is right downtown. I only brought 2 copies, but this is right downtown by the river, obviously. This one is over by the airport between First and Sampson, from Pepper down to 2 Mile, and then a little bit more down here, 2 Mile over on that way, just to get the other side of 2 Mile, the creek right there. And then down on the west side, farther down by the DOT building. And like I said, there's 283 that I mapped out. So if you could think of another 100 that you would like me to map out, I will
I
gladly
was
map.
wondering what area you wanted, because last year was specified where it was gonna be, and
Last
I
year
know.
when we came, it was for because of schools and whatever they could walk to. So I was trying to stay away from schools because like St. Mary's over on this side of the river, if I could get them, then they could just walk right out of school and do it. So if there's areas that is not really by a school but yet an important spot that you guys think of, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just come up with another 100. There's enough of them out there.
Tell him to save something.
There's actually a lot more than you think out there.
David,
Just my first concern would be to have kids, I was a Boy Scout leader at one time, but they're all over the place to pick, nobody on the expressway, for sure.
And it's only
Yeah.
gonna be one scout. It's an Eagle Scout with his Scoutmaster. Those are
Well,
the
usually an
only
Eagle
two.
Scout project has the whole troop helping him. That's the way I always understood it.
Well, that's not the way that they told me. But if they do, in the past we had the
Safety
the
vest.
safety vest, which we will have, and if it's too busy of a road, then they will not do that spot. So
Okay, well, I was just worried about the safety. Joe, if you had some special ones that go straight in the river.
Yeah, the only other areas would be along like the 1 mile or 2 mile creek that I could,
Are there any near
apartment complexes or anything of that nature? That would empty the river.
Probably parks the overflow.
And there's some along Second Street, there's some apartments there.
That would be a good area, that's a direct.
Well, how do we want to do this committee? I mean, we did it last year, like I said, we just did a small area that we okayed. This is,
I have no concern except for the concern you did raise that as long as he's supervised, I have no concern.
I guess I'd make a motion to approve the project plan or project idea and have the appropriate individuals work with city staff to come up with any other locations.
I would second it.
we have a motion and a second on this to allow it to paint sensible catch basins. Any discussion by staff or audience? Seeing none, committee will vote. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, it's that. Item number 3, and that's that's a request from Tom Witt of Consolidated Water Power Company for a permanent limited easement on Kingston Road for the replacement of their power line at the Canadian National Railroad. Dave, do you?
I just got Tom sent me the updated easement, he could explain it. The one I gave you was updated, I just got it yesterday.
Thank you, I'm Tom Witt again. What we have is, we have an outage coming up with the Rapids Mill the second week of June. And the poles that service, from Quipco that service the mill for power are at the end of their useful life. So we're looking to basically replace the poles with a new structure system in the existing area that we have today, which is mainly in the railroad right of way. But we do cross over Kingston Street, which is an area that, with the change in our alignment with the poles, our spacing is going to be cut in half for the poles. Thus, crossing over Kingston Street becomes an issue with the the way the road runs with parallel to our line, basically. So what we're asking is for the committee to grant us a permanent limited easement to in that area of Kingston Street to have an existing line supported with 2 poles in that area.
Dave?
We couldn't find the record who was there first, Kingston Road or the railroad, so just to be safe, well, who's ever first, the other person has to have an easement, but in discussions with Sue Schill, she recommended that the city give Consolidated Water Power an easement, so there's no question either way. Because the poles will be in the Kingston Street right away.
The line is there today, no poles, and the 1926 railroad deed that we have, or easement, basically spells out different sections. We have the right to have the poles in there, and they were constructed basically with the base pole structures in the railroad right away. However, we have easements with property owners also because the overhead lines, go either side of the pole. So, thus, it's worked very well for 90 years almost. Hopefully we can continue on to provide power to the mill, and basically this line goes up to just past 32nd Street, east of 32nd Street to our Grand Rapids substation.
Along where the flag, you got the stakes in there, is that what it?
Yeah, we staked the property
Yeah.
lines, and we are now, by the end of this week, hopefully putting the lath in to show where the pole placement would be. And working with Dave and Joe, we understand, the needs of the city in terms of being off the curbing. So we'll have the distance specified, and that's what we put in this agreement here to make sure that, no one loses sight of that in the future, what we have. So the agreement, or the easement has in the railroad easement from 1926, plus then we add in an exhibit to kind of show the boundary area that we're talking about, to help people down the road recognize where we're at.
Questions, anybody, committee?
I'd make a motion to accept the easement for the electrical poles.
I'll second that. Any discussion by anybody? Okay, hearing and seeing none, committee will vote. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4, that's request from Police Chief Kurt Hoyer to increase the lighting in the alley between Oak Street and Jackson Street. Chief?
Okay, thank you. We've been looking at different opportunities to, take care of some of the issues that happen down in that particular area of First, Second, and Third Street, where our bar district is and whatnot. And we do have, obviously, some challenges with some activities that go on there in the evening hours and after bar time, et cetera. And so while we're going to be working on a number of different initiatives with owners and managers down there, one of the things that got identified by our officers was how dark that alley portion between Oak, which would be by Paul Gross Jewelers, and Nash Law, to the north to Jackson. Now, up closer to the Eagles Club on the back part of what used to be the bar, now Whiskey Rapids, I think it is, or whatever. There is some spotlight, there is a spotlight there, right, Dave? And I think in going through closer to
Up
Jackson.
on East Jackson, there's a 400-watt spotlight that the committee approved that shines down the alley.
So that doesn't penetrate all the way to Oak Street. So what we're hoping for is the committee would perhaps move forward that we would do a light floodlight on down near Oak Street to take care of that section of alley. Light helps.
Yes,
In
it
a lot of
does,
ways.
yeah. I think we've discussed this before, haven't we, Dave, at
Yeah.
our committees?
Matt Schill came in for the Eagles Club floodlight,
Yeah.
because they were having problems behind the Eagles Club. I think it was 2 years ago we approved that. And meeting with Water and Light, they said there's an existing light between Paul Gross Jewelers and K&W Glass, that we would change that out to another 400-watt flood. And that should take care of most of the dark spots.
I'd be in favor of doing it, I guess, and if it's not enough, come back again and we'll see what we can do, but hopefully that is enough, so. I'd move that we, allow or put in a floodlight where the staff has recommended.
I'll second
Any further discussion by anybody? Hearing none, committee will vote. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief. Item number 5, a request from Alderperson Kellogg that modifications be made to Second Avenue to address safety concerns due to the speed limit increase. Dave, I guess, maybe first, and then
Okay.
Scott.
Well, yeah, based on Alderperson Kellogg's request, we took a look at what we could do in the interim. It passed, for everybody aware, it passed council to increase the speed limit to 35. What we have up there is how the road is marked right now by the Department of Transportation when it was reconstructed in 2004. If you, I think it's about 1,200 feet from the roundabout. The boulevard is about 3 feet wide, and then it widens out to about 10 feet. So you've got a 14-foot northbound lane with a 2-foot gutter, 12-foot center lane, and a 13.5-foot lane next to the 3-foot boulevard. And we took a look and hit the next, how we can modify that. We chip seal the road and we'd remark it. We'd still keep the 14-foot northbound lane and a 2-foot gutter pan. The center lane we dropped down to 11-foot, and the outside lane where all the traffic is at this time until we rearrange traffic with the DOT project, we kick that over, we have a 5-foot shoulder, including the gutter pan. And then on the 3-foot boulevard, we put what I added in the packet would be a flexible delineator that would be up, just like our school crossing signs from April 1st to November 1st, and then they're removed for the winter snow season. We're probably looking at that early June. I don't think our attorney is still looking into when the speed limit would be changed, but we'd be looking end of May, early June. City crews would patch and chip seal the street, and then we would remark it in this fashion. We checked into the mailboxes. The postmaster said there are Rubbermaid mailboxes which open on each end so that people don't have to go out and get in the street. Or the other alternative would be to put a communal box on Woodbine. That's what as I understood from the postmaster, they don't get out of their vehicle anymore and come up to the houses and deliver mail. Plus they'd be leaving their vehicle unattended in the travel lane when you got near the roundabout. I think that's about what we've got right now.
If you did keep let's deal with mailboxes first and maybe in a second. But if you kept the mailboxes on that road, you still have to shovel the front of it. And that's a concern that I think I've heard from residents in that area. So I don't know if they want to speak to that, but it just seems like that is a concern. I mean, you have these cars traveling at a speed right while you're trying to shovel out in front. I like the idea of moving it over, and I'm just curious about the one on the right going north, if that has to stay 14, maybe that could go down to less than 14 feet, and then be able to move the center one over a little bit more, even the 12-foot over a little bit more.
I'm gonna be meeting with, me and Joe will be meeting with the DOT tomorrow, and typically they don't count the gutter pan as a travel lane, but it's overlaid, so I'm gonna see if they'll go along with, we could get another 2 feet over, and then you'd have a 7-foot shoulder.
On the right side?
Yeah, we'd kick them, that 14-foot would go right where the 2 is, and then you'd have.
Stay 14.
Move
Right.
over.
So you pick up 2 more feet to move.
Yeah,
other
you'd
two
have
is over.
you'd have a 7-foot painted shoulder,
Okay.
which would be a 10-foot, 10 foot between the sidewalk and the curb is a lot more than, A Street only has 5 feet. They're 35 miles an hour, and so does West Grand.
I don't know what.
What is a flexible
Yeah, does any-
delineator?
I was gonna, who was it?
What is a flexible
It's
delineator?
just a plastic pipe with a reflector on it. It would tend to, another thing I'd ask DOT is how close they think you come to the road, seeing this carries a state highway.
And spaced,
We typically space them with the speed limit, 35 feet.
okay.
Because if you're traveling, that's how we do barrels and stuff. It's based pretty much on the speed limit. But that would tend to have a calming effect because there's something there that the driver sees. And when you have wide open spaces, that's when you have faster traffic. But if there's something there that helps to, I don't know how much it'll help, but it tends to help.
Neighbors, do you have any, other neighbors, do you have anything to comment on or ask questions?
I see that your lane placement, what's your vision for where the median is at approximately Woodbine and Second Avenue? How, this specifies your lanes. Can you describe to me how that's going to funnel into that one existing lane until after the
It's gonna be basically the same thing once it gets to the island until the proposed state project we have that's, I think, at least 2 years away. The actual island will be moved to the south and there'll be two lanes will go directly into the roundabout. extra space.
If they're resurfacing it, I have no idea, I'm just brainstorming, right? But you have this island, can they create like a triangle going out from the island so that cars maybe get into the west lane faster or sooner? Sooner than what it would be?
Oh, you mean past the island?
No, well, okay, you got the island here, and if you had like a triangle, which would give a sense that the person has to merge to the right sooner. I mean, the island's over here, but if you can give this illusion that they need to get over to the right sooner than getting right up to the island and then moving in.
Oh, I see what you mean, moving that lane over.
Yeah,
You could maybe paint some diagonal arrows on the
yeah,
Yeah.
lane to
I
advance more.
believe this is the island, right? So if you had like a triangle coming out, that maybe these cars would get over earlier. And the island stays the same, but it might give this idea of getting over earlier so that all of a sudden we don't have people moving too quickly.
That's not the speed issue, the safety, and I appreciate it, but the safety concern on that street is not there. It's right as people come off the bridge, and they gun it in that outside lane to get in front of people to get into the right-hand lane. So I don't know that the congestion at there, I mean, to me, the biggest issue is further up, upstream, because that's where people are, you know, I live on the road, and you know, you saw the last study that said it was 37.5 mile an hour average, which means in that left-hand lane, I would say there's people going 50, 55 to get into that lane easily. So that's the issue. And also, all these things that we're talking about, they're gonna go into place before the speed limit gets raised.
That's what we're gonna try to do.
Yeah, because that's what was stated when we were here last time, that the speed limit would not be raised until there were safety calming measures that were put into place. So I hope we're gonna stay with that.
Well,
'Cause I heard that come out of the mouth of
that
quite a
has to
few
be
people.
approved by council, I
Okay,
guess.
well, I hope you're gonna approve it, because it came out of a lot of people's mouths the last time, but that's what you would do if you were gonna raise the speed limit.
And Dave, I think you did mention that Sue is researching of when this speed
Right.
limit change would go into effect, so, what we do would have to, I guess, coincide with what that's gonna, when that would be, which, my guess is gonna be fairly soon.
And I think the size, increasing the size of that buffer zone there is really the best option, if we're gonna raise the speed limit. I mean, that's the thing that I think, if we have no other option, is gonna make us feel a little better, at least to know we have that buffer there between the curb and the traffic, because right now it's pretty tight.
And going back,
I have to concur with the speed thing too, because I live at the first two driveways when you come off of the expressway going south. And I sit out on my porch at night and you can hear them honking, you hear people cutting off, they're cutting, I mean, they're racing, coming off of that light to make the light. So that's my concern too. I wasn't able to come to any of the other meetings, I was out of town.
I don't think there's anything we can do with it.
One other positive thing too on that plan that was up there, the diagram earlier, is as far as the traffic that's heading upriver, it's heading north, it's single lane. By narrowing that, maybe people will realize it's actually a single lane, because if I try to pull into my driveway, I guarantee I'm getting passed on the right. And, you know, so narrowing that lane might help that problem too, because, people go tearing by, they don't realize it's even a single lane. So, I mean, the way it's drawn up there, I mean, that's a vast improvement to what it is right now.
David, and I don't know what the plan's gonna be from the DOT or what type of money they get from the state, but as far as removing that island at some point in time, is there a guesstimate of what the cost is of removing it?
Well, the original agreement that we had with the state about a year ago before they did they're doing their ICE intersection capacity evaluation. And our agreement was they would pay for 100% of the construction costs, and the city would pay for the right-of-way. The right-of-way involved in the project would be the gentleman,
driveways.
that first block between Park and Expressway, the city would refront your garages, so you wouldn't have access on the Second Avenue, you'd be using the alley as your access. And that's,
Now, on that note, for me,
Move that down the block.
I am the only house on that side of the block that does not have alley access. I have to drive on my neighbor's driveway to get into the alley. And I understand you guys are saying you're gonna reface it, and I know how old those garages are. But also, there's a 3-foot drop from where they put that new, crushed road base down to get into the garage, and the garage is only from probably that chair to the wall away. You can't drive down 3 foot and try to get into a garage. I mean, it's not feasible. So I guess for me, I would like to know when they're gonna come out and start surveying or,
I think, but you guys may learn more about that
Tomorrow.
tomorrow at the meeting.
Yeah.
because I went to the state already and I know they're pushing it off till, 2017.
Oh, they haven't given us a date yet.
That's,
We're
well,
meeting with
that's
them
what they told me
tomorrow.
last fall. They said it would be
yeah,
at least
we'll-
2017 before they start anything.
Yeah, without a design or anything, but can't guarantee 100%, but we have to make you whole. That's federal law. So one way or another, we're gonna have to figure out a way, if we take your access off of Second Avenue, to give you adequate access onto the alley.
Can you modify, going back to your comment about further up where the expressway is, the lighting, the timing of the lighting, can you have the people come off the expressway more often? Can you take some time off of Second Avenue light and give it to the expressway so they don't back up on the expressway, and then you have fewer cars. You don't have you don't have as many cars making a left turn. You'll have fewer cars making a left turn more often, rather than just a whole
Different time
bunch.
of the day has a major impact.
Yeah. But maybe I'm not sure if they can set it or not.
What we're looking at, and this is preliminary discussions with one of their traffic engineers, if you guys have seen the new symbol, the flashing yellow arrow, we're gonna try that there, because there isn't
Good idea.
conflicts. So instead of being stuck in that left turn bay when nobody's coming at you, it'll drop to a flashing yellow,
Yeah.
and then you can keep turning, which will give us a lot more
How will that
capacity.
affect, how will that
6
affect the
minutes.
crosswalk though? That's another thing. 'Cause there are
Well,
a
the
lot of kids-
left turning vehicle, yeah, that's why I'm not sure about flashing arrows, but yeah, that's gonna come on when there's a flashing don't walk. So the left turning driver is still gonna have to yield to pedestrians, so that's gonna be a concern, a
Well,
safety concern.
my thing about it is like I said, they come over the top of the bridge and I've been sitting in the other lane when I happen to be going through and I'm doing 40 and they pass me like I'm standing still just to make that light. So you're still gonna have, as far as I'm concerned, a safety concern with the pedestrian crosswalk there. And I've seen a lot of times where cars just barely got stopped before people were, or it's just.
It's
too many
a
times.
terrible pedestrian
Yes.
intersection. We walked, all my kids went to St. Mary's, we had to walk them across the intersection, we could never let them go themselves. Cause nobody coming up stops on the left turn, they run the kids right out of the crosswalk, so.
Even the people
You know,
turning
there-
right
that's
off
just
of
the way it
that,
is.
off of that particular, the north, or the southwest corner there. Even people turning right, going, east on the expressway, they just blow right through. You could have 4 or 5 kids standing there with the walk emblem and they just blow right through it.
Can you go just intersection, further on? My directions are all screwed up. Upwards.
On the expressway?
On the expressway, yeah.
On the
yeah.
expressway, okay.
I guess it's west, huh? That's as far as it goes?
Yeah.
It was just a random thought that I had, never mind.
I like the buffer idea.
Buffer's the key.
I think that's a good idea.
That's the key. Yeah. It's
So
gonna,
I've got a couple ideas just to throw out here. First of all, I would like to go back to the postal service issue. And just for everyone's benefit, the way they've been doing it is, as new people come into a residence, they are the ones required to put up a new mailbox. So for those of us that are, they're still coming to the door for a number of us that have lived there for a number of years, right? Second of all, yes, you can get a mailbox, you can remove the mail from the back. However, the issue still is getting out on the street, clear the snow away so that they can pull up there. And the same issue happened just this winter at the house that's on the east side of this express, or this drive, right next to the state building parking lot. And I saw the postman get stuck at that when he quit delivering mail there because they didn't clear it out. Well, it's a little tough when you're getting the sloppy stuff frozen in there from the
snow plows and everything else.
Right. So then let's go back to some thoughts here, and I guess, I think Dave, you are gonna have to research this, but if we have this kind of a standing agreement with the DOT to do this project, is there anything really wrong with us doing this driveway change other than budgeting? There's gonna be some cost involved. Or are we getting some national or state or federal funds to assist us with any of this thing from a safety standpoint? Because I've been involved with putting a whole new bridge in over on the other side of the river, all because it was a safety issue. And there's federal safety monies available, and I think we start taking a good serious look about how safe this is. And I know there's not a whole lot of rear end collisions and all that, but all you have to do is drive it a few times, and you know it's a safety issue. I don't care if you're going 15, 25, 35, or 45. It's a safety issue. And if you're talking right now, well, if we go to a 5-foot width, will that be in the wintertime too, outside of the, where the outside lane?
Yeah, it's gonna be a pavement marking, so it's probably gonna be full of
Yeah, it's
snow
hard to
in the
see.
winter, but yeah.
Okay, so now you've got, I mean, I would certainly think that the city is still gonna be plowing snow right out to the curb pretty well like they have been. Okay, so now you've still got the issue of getting this snow blower out there on the street to clear that. And this having the multiple mailbox issue a block away, I don't go for that at all. And we're back to the same thing. Go clear your sidewalks to go get your mail. And quite honestly, about half of this total length has got a very narrow boulevard, and it's the first snowplow that goes through, just covers our sidewalks right up. And we start every time, and then they're good enough. The city has been fairly consistent on going in and cleaning that boulevards off midway through the winter, because you start having an issue of seeing over the pile of snow to see if cars are coming. So that's a safety issue, and they take care of it. And I would say that over the years, they've done an excellent job at doing that. And I know it's all working around what their other jobs are and all that type of thing. But I give that crew, or the group that runs that crew, a lot of credit for doing that. And, going back to the issue about the triangle that was mentioned, I think one thing that could very well be done that could eliminate what that recommendation would be is to put a second merge right lane sign up, but put it earlier, right after that turnoff onto Robert Street. Put one and have that a second merge sign put up, so they see it twice. And we talked about it in one of the meetings here, and quite honestly, I've looked at it since then, and you do kind of get around a curve before you realize it's a merge.
Right.
I mean, half of them are going into a skid already going around the curve. They go so fast in the wintertime, But I think the two of those issues at least could certainly help. I like the idea of your 5-foot thing there, or 5-foot marking inside or off the curb. And that would help a lot, I would think.
Could we revisit with the postmaster and maybe have a meeting? You, me, and maybe some residents?
Yeah, I can ask him if he's a new postmaster, I can
I mean,
call him and see
I think
we can-
sometimes rather than over the, sit-down meeting, where
I can
people
ask him
talk
if
to
he'll-
people, personally as to what their issues are. maybe at the end of the day after their work, and then, maybe once he hears it, maybe he has suggestions, or you might, but maybe we could set that up
Like I said,
before we go to the
I know
common
they still
council.
walk down my block, I actually had
And-
to, I had to get a variance from them to move my mailbox out to the end of my sidewalk off of the easement side, because they walked up to the house.
And we've been there in that house for 23 years, and they made us move our box from the house out to the street.
They
So-
made you, or
so
they
you're-
wrote a
no,
letter
they
asking?
made us. They said if you don't move it, your mail will no longer be delivered.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
so don't,
that's surprising, because I know I've gotten those letters.
because when we moved in, it was on the house, and it was
Asking you to
probably,
do it if you don't do
probably
it.
probably 18 years ago. They said, move it out, put it out on the curb, or we won't deliver your mail.
Is there,
So good luck. I appreciate your sentiment, but from experience, working 27 years with the federal government, good luck. All right?
Andrew,
Going down the west side of the street, is there underground utilities under there? Or street light, things of that nature? What, is there access for wiring under there?
I think the street line is on the east side.
It's on the east side?
yeah, sewer goes under the sidewalk, under my sidewalk.
Okay. And I was just thinking with the merge signs up by Marshfield Hospital and Marshfield proper, they've got those, I think it's up there, they've got the flashing lighted stop signs up there. Do they do anything like that with a merge sign or anything like that?
I can ask, that's a state highway, so I've got
I
to,
have seen those, I travel all over the country and I have seen them, they're the triangles, and then the whole outside ring of the triangle flashes, and they've got that solar panel on the top of them.
Cause I mean, I haven't been down there recently, but I've been down there a lot in the past, and, I mean, as far as getting people to slow down coming around the corner, it's,
You're not gonna do it.
short of standing out there with a shotgun pointed at people's cars, nobody's gonna slow down coming
Shovels
around the
work.
corner.
They go faster.
They might,
Shovels work.
but, I mean, if, and people generally aren't gonna pay that much attention to a sign, especially if they're focused on something else, so if people are in the left-hand lane, and, I mean, they know they have to merge over, or they're not aware that they have to merge over. In either event, maybe, a more visible sign might assist in the merging process. I mean, whether that's gonna cause them to speed up to get ahead of people to merge, or cause them to slow down to try and finagle into traffic, I have no idea.
I would say yes.
Yes to both accounts.
Every day, yes.
Well, people that know are the ones that stop on it right from the light to merge. It's the people that don't know that end up getting up close to where it narrows down that have to all of a sudden.
Most
make an
everybody
adjustment.
that knows about it, they stay in the right lane, and
Right.
which, for me, and I understand the safety aspect of what the state's doing there for my house. 100% I agree with it. Cause I close my eyes, well, not really close my eyes, but say a short little prayer before I turn into my driveway every time I pull into it. Cause they come around that corner so fast.
Right.
So,
You flip it off a lot?
I
Slow
do,
it down?
especially when I have to back my work truck in the second driveway.
If this had been two lane all the way down, I think that would have solved a lot of the problems right from the start.
Yeah.
So,
That's what the
hopefully when it gets-
proposal,
That's what the proposal is for, isn't it, with the
3
state?
years out.
so are you talking one lane each way?
No,
Oh,
two
two-
lanes.
two
Two
down.
lanes on the right
Yeah.
to go into the
To go
roundabout.
into the roundabout.
Yeah, that would solve it, you're right.
Won't solve everything, but it'd be the biggest part.
You know, I started on that removing the driveways and talking about safety money. But is this, our part of the project, the city's part of the project? Could that be done ahead of time to relieve that first block of, and have them go off the
well,
backside into the
it'll be
property?
city funded, but because in any project that has federal money in it, before you do anything, you have to get the environmental document done, and sometimes I'm working on safe routes to school, just to put in sidewalks, that took 9 months to get an environmental document done, to put in sidewalks in a built-up area, so the environmental documents take forever, and they won't let us do the right-of-way usually ahead of time. But we can do it, it would be probably 2015, the city, if the council agrees, we could budget for the right of way, but if we can move forward, that we have to get approved from DOT.
Yeah, because you have to meet whatever they're going to do to it with your curbing and everything else, right?
Right, well, just the rules are, your environmental document has to be approved before you can do any right of way. We ran into that on First Street, and now it's safe routes to schools, so it's pretty, they're sticklers about it too. It's frustrating, but you just wait until it's done, then start the right of way.
One other food for thought along that street there. And we made the choice that the last time the street was redone at my house, we made a choice to do a double driveway. And quite honestly, at times I could be heading into my driveway going about 30, 35 miles an hour, and I can still make the curve good. I'm almost wondering if it wouldn't be in our best interest to be speaking with anybody that is gonna have a driveway under the new concept. I try to convince them to go at least a half a driveway wider. And I know we used to have one hellacious problem with the gutter and then a real high up to the sidewalk. That's been pretty well cured. It's halfway decent. But I know there's that house that maybe it's abandoned down beyond your house there. They've got a driveway that's just terrible to drive into that driveway. And, you know, maybe it's a matter of taking a look at a couple of pieces of sidewalk and dropping their driveways in some of those cases and make them wider, more accessible. You know?
Ordinance allows a 30-foot driveway, and we'll work with you to drop.
Yeah.
We always drop the sidewalk and driveways just to get people off the road quicker.
But I mean, it might be, you know, to start discussing with those owners along that road about doing that before you get into the project, so you know it's part of the project, you know. Food for thought. I think it makes it safer, it really does.
It's a traffic safety issue too. I mean, not just because I have to slow down so much to get in my driveway that, like I said, that's when they start getting mad. You know, that people are swerving out into the other lane and this and that. So, you know, not having to almost come to a dead stop, make that turn, it does have some validity, I think.
That's probably one of the biggest problems with my driveways, but that's gonna be
Yeah,
cured.
your driveway,
Mine's
better
gonna
off
be cured
than
quick.
Yeah, the town one is.
Okay, committee, do you have any thoughts of what we wanna do, I guess, now? In the interim, or look at some more, or wait
Well, I think.
till they meet tomorrow?
Yeah, David
and-
meets tomorrow, and he's gotten input here as to what are possibilities that people are thinking, that maybe you could share and see if they're viable for the DOT, and maybe before we have our common council meeting, we could meet prior to that and not have everything on the table. I would like to request a meeting with the postmaster, rather than just saying it can't happen, let's just see if we can meet and see if it's a viable option. And I'd be happy to be there, and you and if anybody else, but maybe some residents, and just talk to the person, see if there's some reasonable solutions. So I guess, you know, a meeting after the DOT meeting to see what's the conclusion from your meeting, and then a meeting sometime with the postmaster, which I think can be a later time in my mind, because it's not necessarily connected with these changes in the resurfacing or whatever, so that's not a rush. So I don't know what people think about that as a possible plan.
You're saying, I guess, hold this over this evening?
Yeah.
And wait until, if the DOT has different
It
suggestions
changes
or something, and you come back to the committee, could be the night before the council, or if we could have a special.
I don't think there'll be radical changes, just maybe lane widths or something. If we had time, we could meet like a half an hour before council or something.
Is there any chance of this speed limit getting increased before any of these changes are made?
I don't believe so, but
I think, didn't Sue say it was dependent on the state statute as to when it was passed at council versus a certain number of days that go by from when it's passed to when it
she's
has to be?
researching what she has
I
to
have no
do.
idea when that is, but
She told me in an email that she thought it would be June first, and we're planning, if this passes with chip seal, to schedule that for late May. It's already hit.
That's what I was gonna ask. That's what I was gonna ask.
Maybe our crew
Date for
doesn't
chip
get out there
sealing.
right away.
let me ask one final
Sure.
question, and this is on the reflective pylons. You said you spaced them at the interval of the posted speed.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
a
it's
rule
a
of thumb, 35 feet.
It's
yeah.
a psychological response, but, I mean, on a stretch of road that's 35 miles an hour, would putting them at 20-foot intervals, would that change the nature of how someone interprets that as it goes past them?
There is, they do it with chevrons on some of the interstates where they'll space them closer and it makes you feel like you're actually going faster. You know, but it's just a short period,
Right.
you know. So maybe it's something that might work at the Woodbine.
For the first 500 feet of the stretch or something, or, I don't know, whatever. I'm just,
It's possible.
if that's something that maybe the DOT has a study or recommendation on for staggered or varied spacing for that,
They typically will go the speed limit 35 feet, but I mean, they could have, traffic calming is the new craze now in traffic engineering, so maybe there is studies on spacing well, Canada puts fake potholes. I've seen that in trade magazines. They put fake potholes in the road.
was that actually, I mean, the last time I was on this committee, was that you that brought forward when they had the paintings of the? Oh, no,
Ours
that
are
was-
fake.
Yeah,
This was,
Right now,
this was something else that I read, where they were putting paintings
That's
of
why you get private
pedestrians
right
in the road to make you slow down.
I hadn't seen it.
Oh, that was pretty
You're
cool.
talking about the stretched out girl chasing the ball?
Yes, yes.
And then when you look at it from a distance,
It looks like a girl
a
standing
girl
up.
standing right there till you get right up on it, it's like from here to the wall.
Yeah, she's like 5 feet tall visually as you're down the road, but then, yeah, it's like 60 feet long or something, I don't know. Seems like a horrifying prospect.
Sometimes you may cause more accidents by making a person panic.
Right,
so-
right. That was just a really strange psychological study I read the one time, but.
Have they ever put the speed limit, box on that road? I've never seen it there since I've been there, like the
I've seen it
25
there a
mile an
couple of
hour,
times.
you know,
Yeah.
it flashes when you're speeding.
It's been up there a couple of different times over the
Oh,
last
from the
5,
police
10
department,
years.
yeah, I could, well, chief's left, so I don't know.
I think the last time I was over there probably like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe right after, maybe longer than that, when the speed was reduced down to 25, or maybe a year after that, that was back
I've been there
in 08,
for
I think.
5 years now and it's been 25 since I've lived there.
Yeah, it was reduced in 08, so I think it probably was right around that time period is when they threw it up there.
Well, it seems like we have to have a meeting before the common council, because, going back to what was mentioned, if the speed's gonna be changed in June. It almost seems like this common council meeting, we have to approve this signage or
Right, yeah, we would like
lines
it,
or whatever.
if you're gonna do it, we'd like it at this council, because then we can
And
get into
then
play.
the postal stuff can be done at a later time.
Right.
Can we make a motion to approve the signage and the chip sealing, things of that nature? Make a motion to approve those types of things that can be done in a short order of time with, under their proper, authority or whatever you wanna call it, I
Yeah.
guess.
Pending approval by the DOT and that way at
Yeah.
least we get it
Yeah.
done.
To kinda give Dave and his crew a little bit of,
Leeway, yeah.
a little bit of leeway. Motion to approve the preliminary project as shown with city staff making necessary and prudent changes without our requirement,
Yeah.
I guess.
I second.
Okay. And motion and a second. David, do you have the motion down or?
I think so.
It's on tape, right?
Yeah, it's on tape.
Yeah, I don't get the
True.
tapes, I have to go see Shade. Okay, to approve the preliminary process, and I just put in there to chip seal the lane markings and to allow city staff to make changes, I guess.
Yeah, make necessary changes, or necessary or prudent changes without the, I guess without the requirement of approval from this committee.
Do you wanna meet again then before council?
I'd like to meet again, just so we have what's the latest.
And I guess when, about the chip seal and the lane markings and that, is that, I guess to what we've seen, to change the lanes?
I think it makes sense, and I still like, and I don't know if it's a good idea, DOT will give you a better idea, but that extending that island with a triangular, not extending, but the triangular with paint, encouraging them to get over to the right, I think that might help. Cause, you know, when they see that, they'll say, ooh, they gotta get over sooner.
Are they gonna,
And about moving, can you put both of them up there, Joe? Or one?
This
Or
one,
not, maybe not at the same time.
which one do you want?
Well, where you just were.
Okay.
There. About, you know, we were talking two different scenarios of where to put that lane coming into the bridge, towards the bridge,
I thought,
to
I
move
understood
it over.
that where it says 14 on the right, I thought it was gonna go over to,
Okay, I'm just, I
and it was
guess
gonna
wanna
be
make
less
sure.
than 14.
If I can get approval from
Yeah,
DOT,
okay.
we would shift everything further to the right.
Yeah,
Give
okay,
the shoulder-
that's what I wanted to make sure, I guess,
Yeah.
would happen, that they'd do it that way.
That's why,
If the state says you can, that
that's why I'd like to have a meeting prior to the common council, it just, I mean, maybe we can't, but at least we'll know going in,
And maybe it would just be an informational meeting without any type of,
motion or.
are you guys gonna be putting the paint arrows in the left lane too before the merge? You know, I've seen them where they
Oh,
have the arrows pointing to the merge side.
merge right arrows.
I don't know if you guys had thought about that or not,
Good
but
idea.
Yeah, I've got it written down.
Merge right arrows.
We're not doing any improvements until after, won't be until after council then.
Right, yeah, all this would have to be approved.
council's on the 20th, right?
Right.
I just
So,
wanted to give you guys another idea. 'Cause
Yeah,
That just the logistic part, because we're using a chip seal. And when you do a chip seal, you gotta make sure that that is solid. So those arrows will probably come in later in the summer. Because the chips tend to pop off and they gotta get rolled in really good before, actually, sometimes we have to paint it twice. Because the chips are so irregular, they take more paint, so just, that may not, we may be improving it all summer as the chips get better.
I was just throwing it out there as an idea for another visual
Yeah.
for the curve.
sooner the better to get them over.
okay, committee? If there's nothing else, we can vote. All those in favor of the motion respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. So that'll be taking place, and I get this, I guess David and Joe, when you guys find out, or what you find out from the state of what can be done or not done, I guess if you'd, let the committee know, and I guess let the neighbors, along the route, know, I guess, what we're looking at to happen. The council's gonna would have final approval, but, so, yeah.
I've been in here, not once, but twice for my solar panels. And we talked things over, and I really appreciated that. And that's what I sensed here tonight, it was good to just be able to talk things over.
Thank you.
And then if you set up a meeting with the postmaster.
Okay.
So that,
At a later
and maybe
time.
the same thing would happen with him, but I'm
Yeah.
sure part of it, part of his answer, most of his answer may be what the law is. Of what can be done, but I guess you'll have to have the discussion, I guess is fine.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll keep you informed of what's gonna possibly happen, and then what will happen.
Copy of
The
those?
council meeting on the 20th, you're all welcome to attend. It starts at 6. I can't say what time Public Works is to report their report, but usually not too long after. Okay, let's see, where, item 6, and that's request to acquire right-of-way for sidewalk purposes on the west side of 4th Street between East Jackson Street and Oak Street, and a preliminary resolution to install sidewalks on the west side of 4th Street between East Jackson Street and Oak Street. Dave?
Well, right now, we're in the process of reconstructing Oak Street between 3rd and 4th, and 4th Street between East Grand and Oak, and as part of our design and checking in the area, and Terry Johns is here from United Way, the United Way property on the corner is the only property without a sidewalk. What we're proposing is to extend the sidewalk from the bank lot down to Oak Street.
Where would that be, Joe?
It'd be from right here, extend the sidewalk down. to that point.
We, for one reason or another, it wasn't an old residential house when I first came here, and the city chose not to acquire the adequate right-of-way at that time. We'd have to buy, I put it in the packet, it's, I think it's
519 square feet.
feet, and we'd have to relocate the sign for United Way. And then put in the sidewalk, so that's the proposal. We'd like to do it, it's in a downtown area, and we'd like to have sidewalk. I don't know if
Terry, do you have anything to add?
When we first were invited to the meeting at the church, and many of you were there, there was talk about, widening Oak or not widening Oak. And the way that the decision happened is we had 2 parking spaces in front of our building, which we will no longer have. So I'd asked Dave about, could we get parking, on that east side of the building? So that we would at least have some parking that's associated with our organization, but then, and that is okay, or you said
Yeah,
there's
there
no
was no
ordinance
ordinance, so we
restricting
just
that.
marked out the curb.
So we could have those spaces, but then there's no, there's no sidewalk. I guess it's a safety issue. I do the shoveling, I'm not looking for more shoveling, but I think, but it really does, it just really does make sense. And if you were to see, there's a lot of foot traffic from the courthouse over the lunch hour. A lot of people take their breaks and they come and they walk, and they have to step down in the street and walk on the street, and then they pick up the sidewalk again. It just doesn't make sense to me that there's not a sidewalk there when you look at the whole downtown area.
Doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
the sidewalks all over.
And it seems
Down
that,
there,
it just seems that
downtown.
if the work is being done
Yeah.
to the front, it just seems to, the timing of it seems to make sense to us.
How many cities don't have sidewalks downtown?
Well, and it's just a half a block,
Yeah,
it's just kind
for-
of a
for a
random
short
space.
stretch like
So, but honestly, our primary concern was that we wanted to have some sort of parking, obviously we don't own it, but that was
Yep.
associated with our building, and so we appreciate, getting that on the side, but then if there's parking, does it not make sense to have the sidewalk or have the continuation, it comes to the Wood Trust lot and then just stops.
Committee, any?
I make a motion to put the sidewalk in that location. Also in that.
Beat me. All right, we have a motion and a second. If there any further discussion, hearing none, committee will vote. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have that. Thanks for sitting through our.
I was gonna say, I didn't wanna interrupt, I was gonna say, you guys, I stayed for all of yours, you should stay.
Partway through it, I thought, which item is yours? And I guess, I wish we had.
I
taken
suspected
up
that would be a
first, that
longer
we had
one, so it's
reshuffled,
fine, it's fine.
Well, now you know
Thank
the issues on Second Avenue.
I
Just
knew
before-
those, you forget I'm connected with law enforcement.
I don't know I'm hoping to get this done this year, but this wasn't in the original project, so
Understood.
I may end up having to go to finance to get enough money to purchase the right of way and move the sign, so it may be done later this year, or maybe even not until next year.
And then those spaces, those 2 parking spaces on the side, they did come right away and repaint the curb, but when you're done with will they actually be marked as parking spaces?
Yeah,
You know
I
how the
could-
white lines kind of come out from the curb,
Right,
that will happen
yeah.
at some point?
Yeah.
I mean, right now you have a
It'll be.
equipment
yeah.
there anyway,
Yeah, we
so,
don't-
but, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Item number 7, and that's to set the 2014 special assessment rates for sanitary sewer, water main, sanitary and storm lateral, water leads, curb and gutter, sidewalk, and permanent street surface.
Okay, I got an updated one because, we got the numbers from Water and Light. We're trying to get actual costs and, so the water main, actually, we did a detailed estimate on, the water lead, and we found out that it actually costs less than we had assessed in the past, so if we go down from the top, we're sanitary sewer and water main, we're requesting no change. Sanitary laterals 4 inches is going up 1%. Sanitary lateral or storm lateral 6 inches is up 1.9%. Water lead is actually going down 16.7% based on what we just completed our study. New curb and gutter, no increase. Remove and replace up 2%. These are based on contract, that's why they fluctuate. We're allowed to keep 10% for engineering. We can't make a profit, but we're allowed, so we try to smooth it with that 10% for engineering. New sidewalks, 0. Remove and replace, we're gonna go actually down 4% because we got a different contractor that won the bid this time. New 6-inch sidewalk, remove and replace 6-inch sidewalk, new concrete driveway approach, and remove and replace driveway approaches stayed at 0. I'm recommending temporary street surfacing to go up by 20% because that 20% is the maximum we've always done. Street surfacing is based on the previous year's average, and we hadn't had any temporary street surfacing for years, and last year we did, or 2012, we did 2 streets, and the price increased like almost 40%, so we did 20, and now we're gonna do another 20 to back up.
Yeah.
Overlay street surfacing, we stayed the same. Permanent street surfacing, I think that went up, was that 5%? I think I got the right percentage down there.
Yeah, that's what you said earlier.
5%. And then asphalt removal, that's based on contract prices, that's actually up 25%. And then asphalt surfacing with base stayed the same, and then sidewalk grinding went up 18.5, which is actually the next item. And then snow shoveling, we haven't changed that. So these are the rates we're proposing for 2014 cost to property owners, and then the next column is by past, back when we used to have a maintenance weight committee years ago, they told us to, for public hearings, to increase them by 20% for the public hearing rates so that the hearing is good for 3 to 5 years out in the future with price increases. So when we actually do a project, we we had the public hearing, we give you the public hearing rates, but then when we actually bill, we go back to the rate in
okay.
effect at the time of construction.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna ask was, you're saying no increase, but I'm seeing, some odd cents, 50 cents up to like $1.25, rough guesstimate here, but.
Oh, yeah, the
From
20%.
one column to the other
Right.
column, okay, so that's,
So if we do it like in the next year, you actually get a break in price from what is on the hearing, but maybe 3, 4, 5 years, you're at actual cost with that 20% inflation factor.
when this comes, whatever, goes on here, when this comes to full council, can you get, cause you say no increase, can you put down and make it representative that there actually is no increase, cause otherwise it looks like this is an increase.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Cause then it'll just save you having to answer the same question twice.
okay.
Maybe, I don't know.
Or if you hand it down to somebody.
Right.
I can put this in an attachment with the percentages on it.
Alrighty.
And just one question regarding, well, maybe I'll hold that for the next, I'll hold that for item 8. Because it's more good at that.
Alright. Well, committee, what do you wanna do with the rates? For all of this?
I would recommend increasing the rates for 2015.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, committee will vote on the 2014 special assessment rates. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Item number 8, set the 2014 sidewalk grinding rate.
Okay, in lieu of replacing sidewalk when it's not cracked and if it's up, no more than 2 inches, our sign shop normally does it. We have a grinder that'll grind the edge of the walk off, and that's, we're looking at, that's actual cost, what we charge out for our grinder and the guy and the truck. It's $211 per square foot, and then if you look up on 4-inch sidewalk, remove and replace, you're at $421, so it's less than half the cost to the property owner. So we offer this as an alternative if it meets the criteria. If it's all busted up, there's nothing we can do with it. But
And what I was gonna ask about that was, is that, because when you go out and you make the inspection on the, whatever plat that you're gonna do that particular year or whatever, do you send out, this is the assessment for replacement, even if it qualifies for the grinding, or do they have to request a grinding, or do you put in there, you may also, or do you just put the grinding in right off the bat?
we just normally tell them what's defective, and then we wait for, then if they contact us, we'll say, well, there's an alternative for grinding. There's so few grinding ones compared to all the defective that we haven't really proposed that all the time.
Right. I know we had a couple of them on my block that were ground down because the 2 or like 3/4 of an inch popped up or something like that from trees, but I wasn't sure if that was something that you put out in the letter that you send out or not, so.
Why don't we include that?
Yeah, we can.
It just seems like you have everything on the table as a owner, then I'll know, should I replace it or do I?
Yeah, then they'll know without,
Call
because
it.
they won't know to
It's
call.
in
there.
Because
You don't know what they don't know.
I don't think we've changed our plan in years. Yeah, well, we haven't changed, I'm pretty sure we haven't changed our sidewalk maintenance form in years, so I don't think it's in there, but we can put it in.
Because I mean, if they're marking it out, I'm sure somebody's out there going, maybe using the ichrometer saying, well, that could probably be ground down and still be acceptable.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if somebody's solar their shoe, they kick it up against, that's close to 2 inches. But
In your definition, if it's this height, it could be ground down at this cost. And then as a owner, I'll know.
Right. Because our insurance company in the past has said anything over 3/4 inches you need to maintain.
Well, and of course, if it's a 4-inch sidewalk and it's 2 inches, you're grinding that thing down to 2
Yeah,
inches.
yeah.
That's
So
a lot.
it's half the thickness,
Diminishing
so.
returns,
Yeah.
But we have had, what was in a newer area, we've had court cases where it was like, I don't even know if it was 3/4 of an inch, and a person fell, and I don't even know if they've settled yet. They've sued the city, they sued the contractor that supposedly sunk the sidewalk. So we're just trying to protect the city too.
I'll make a motion to approve the grinding rate.
I'll second. Any further discussion? If hearing none, committee will vote on setting the 2014 sidewalk grinding rate. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Number 9, a resolution approving the North Central Wisconsin Stormwater Coalition Cooperative Agreement. Joe?
So this is a North Central, it's kind of Stormwater Coalition's been in effect for at least 5 years now, and the city's been a part of it. The agreement has, I guess, come to its term limit, and so this is just reestablishing that the city of Wisconsin Rapids wants to be a part of that coalition. Their primary efforts are for public education and outreach, and it's a collaboration of all the central Wisconsin communities on meeting our permit goals, which is it's a requirement of the permit that we meet these education and outreach, do these activities, and so it's definitely a win for the city to be a part of that.
It's sort of where the catch basin stenciling kind of grows out of as well, sort of.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's fortunate for us that the county, that Tracy's involved in that, and people have come to her to do those activities. But those are types of activities that the coalition would do as well.
Is there a reason, I'm looking at who's all involved, Marathon County is there, but unless I miss it, Wood County is not there. Is there a reason for that?
Marathon County is actually, being that they're a metro area with Wausau and Kronenwetter, Rothschild, Schofield, that the DNR looks at the county as somebody that is also needs to have a permit, stormwater permit. So they're in the mix too to help coordinate all the communities, and so the meetings are actually held on county property, Marathon County facilities in Wausau. So they've provided a lot of administrative efforts for the meetings and the coalition.
Okay, thanks on that.
We'll be someday and when our urbanized area hits about 50,000 was the cutoff. I don't know if they raised it, but we're been sitting at 40 now for about the last 20 years.
I'll make a motion to approve the presented resolution.
I'll second.
I have a motion, a second, to approve the North Central Wisconsin Stormwater Coalition Cooperative Agreement again. Any further discussion there? Hearing none, committee will vote. All those in favor respond by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed by seven. Item 10, that's to review the proposed 2014 Public Works project schedule.
So First Street North, they're contractors replacing road base and finishing up the storm sewer. In the next couple of weeks, they'll be getting curb and gutter in, sidewalk in, finishing up the bike trail, and going on to paving. So hopefully they'll be finishing up about mid-June. And
Since this was a larger scale project, did we have to shift this? Because I think originally this was shown as being on city park property. Did that get shifted off of city park property? Because I mean, we can't whatever it is there under the clock tower, between the clock tower and the retaining wall. So, I mean, we can't construct on city park property, but I don't know if, and I think that was moving that off of there is what prompted having to have that historical eval on the.
Well, we were getting near the courthouse, that's what kicked in the historical part.
Right, and I think it was moving it off of there. I mean, with all of that, we still didn't get to a point where we're doing anything with the river retaining wall, have we?
no, not at this point. However,
So I mean, it's all kind of right there.
With the overlook and the landscaping for the roundabout, removing the snow dump area there, that driveway. We're looking into trying to repair some areas on the wall. There's a couple worse spots that we were looking at trying to repair. So we were working with Jim Borski to see if for equipment rental for our guys, or if we've got contacts for people, we can contractors, we can come and take a look at it and see what it's might cost. And
There's money in the 2014 budget to finish the overlook and do some landscaping in the roundabout. the railing.
Cause I know that was, I know Parks Department had said that it was starting to become a concern with the structural stability of it. There was concerns over, from the historical department of the state as to, you know, what we even really can technically do with it since it's a historical landmark, apparently.
Well, the wall, we checked it out, the wall isn't.
It's
It
not,
didn't
okay.
make the historical.
It didn't make the cut,
Because
okay.
everything,
That's
they're
right.
very thorough when they checked, we checked everything. The
Cause I know,
courthouse is historic.
like 5 years ago, it was made by the CCP and.
No, at
the
this point,
CCC
at this point, it's not historical. We did me and Joe took a boat ride, the fireman took us by the wall, and it needs tuck pointing, but it doesn't have any real failures at this point.
Okay.
We fixed it, probably 15 years ago, we had a bad area, but
Okay.
when they were doing soil borings in the park, I'd heard stories from our older surveyors that passed on now, but that they backfill that wall with anything and anything they could find, and they were finding a lot of wood. So stumps or something was used in there.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I mean, is having all that excavating equipment down there, is that gonna affect the structural stability of it at all?
I don't think so. It's pretty,
I'm sorry, I've gotten us off
No.
topic.
No, it's interesting, actually.
Yeah. Every once in a while, that river wall comes up for a discussion on what's gonna happen.
Someday.
Okay.
Joe? Covina Avenue, our crews have completed that work, and for this year, that'll be paving curb and gutter for next year. They're currently on Fourth and Oak. They've got the sewer replaced on Fourth Street, and they started working on Oak Street. So they'll probably be there doing underground work for the next 2 weeks yet, at least. And then the pipe crew will probably go over to 10th Street by the end of May. So, and, I mean, the schedule hasn't changed, I'll just point that out, that it's still the same schedule. So we're on track, maybe a week ahead of schedule.
pavement patching.
Pavement patching, yeah, it's a good one. So we started work on the expressway today, and they'll also be doing a patch on A Street, by Pepper Avenue. So they'll be probably done with the outside lanes, they're hoping by the end of this week, and letting them cure over the weekend. They're the same contractor that's working on First Street, so there might be a break in between going to the inside lanes in the expressway. So they might jump over to First Street and do the curb and gutter and sidewalk there and then come back.
Did that take place after, like into July then? After the work is completed down in, First Street?
Oh, they'll be in and out of there.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll be bouncing back.
About a week,
Okay.
they figure there'll be only about a week of work down there.
Okay. Oh, it just shows, you know, through the end of June, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I should update that. Safe roads.
Oh, safe roads. We've passed the environmental document, it was approved. I have had one mailing to the property owners, an introduction and their land rights from the state. I told them in the letter, the area that we're proposing either to purchase or a temporary limited easement. That's been out for, I think, 3 weeks now. I've only had a response from two property owners. One came up to City Hall, just talked to me a little bit, and the other one I had met out on the site. I was hoping, once, we're gonna go out and start counting trees this week, start contacting property owners, trying to get hold of people if I can. I mean, when we had the public hearings, we had a very, say, interested crowd in the project, and I'm shocked that nobody's been contacting me.
This was down in Washington?
Washington.
Oh, okay, I remember that.
Washington 28th, and then there's a piece of Clyde that they've had a notice from me for about at least 2.5 weeks, and like I said, out of 31 property owners, I've had 2 responses.
Now you're on TV, you may get more.
Call me out.
Jog your memory or something, so.
Yeah, I'll be out probably Thursday and Friday with our surveyor, double checking our proposed right of way and counting, trees, assessing the trees that would have to come down, that are outside the city's right of way. And then once I've completed that, I'll be sending out offers to the people, and then the timetable is the June meeting. Hopefully, everybody is happy and satisfied, and we'll ask for approval of all settlements for the right-of-way in June. The same time, we'll send off to the state and then the federal government to approve the bidding documents, hoping to get that approved and open bids in August. Then they have to go through the same chain of events, they have to prove, so we probably start in September and hoping that we'd have enough, tentative plan right now, it's a capped fund. So we have more work, we did this estimate like 3-4 years ago on a Friday afternoon to get the grant in, and it always bites us that, when you get into the design, there's a lot more in that. So I'll have the city crews probably do the clearing and grubbing prior to the contractor, and then the contractor would put in the sidewalk, and then we have flashing lights at Grove Avenue is part of it, 3 bike racks for, I think 3 of the schools will get bike racks, and sidewalk on Clyde, Washington, and 28, and I think that's the major parts of it. But hopefully, it'll be done this year. If not, it'll be just like First Street, finishing up what isn't done the next spring.
It's a big project. Anything else, guys?
No.
Let's see, well, review the referral list, we're up to item number 11. The first two, we got one from 2012 and then 2013, I think we can leave both for now. 2014, we can, I think, start going down, because I think there's several to cross off. Number 2, increase in the speed limit, that was done. That hasn't taken effect yet, so we can remove that one. Number 3 from 2014, and that was the parking by the school district's administration building, has changed in that out front there. We did take action on that and approved it, so that can be taken off. And a request from Buren to close 48th Street. We've all done all that, so that's number 4, that can be taken off. Number 5 at 2014. For a temporary truck detour route for 48th Street, that was done too, so that can be taken off. And then 2014, number 6, that's a request from Police Chief Hoyer, and that's the lighting in the alley there that we did tonight, so that can be taken off. Number 7, a request from Alderperson Kellogg, and that had to do with the modifications on 2nd Avenue to address the safety concerns. Scott, take it off, and I guess
I feel comfortable with, all the discussion. It's going to happen, the
Yeah.
modifications.
I was.
I mean, if something comes up, it'll be at
I
a
mean,
council meeting, we
right.
took action, so.
And we gave them the authority to do, I was gonna say, I'm inclined to leave it on if we were gonna have an informational meeting, before the council meeting, but as you see fit.
So let's keep it on.
You can always take it off.
Because it's really not a done deal yet, you know what I mean? So let's keep it on.
Okay. Number 8, that's a request from Tracy Arnold of the Wood County Land Conservation Department about stenciling the catch basin. What a number. Okay, and that can be taken off. Let's see, anything that I missed, committee or anything? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor of adjourning, respond by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. The Public Works is ended at about 7:25.